We'll now hear from our media panel, Lynn Osborne-Way of Rogers TV. Lynn.
Thanks, Carol. Many years ago, tracks lined the streets of Cambridge for streetcars and trains, and there were trains running between Kitchener and Cambridge, what was then now Kitchener and Cambridge. And we now need to start rebuilding that infrastructure because of pollution and energy concerns and congestion, those types of things. But it's going to cost a lot of money. Do you support light rail? What would you do to ensure that the funding is available for this? And generally, what would you do about transit for Cambridge?
We'll hear first from candidate Mike Toffner.
Yeah, the light rail transit, that's a really big issue. I guess definitely I'm not in favor of light rail transit for these very reasons. Cambridge has to put in at least $2 million, and we really don't get nothing out of it. They're going to put the train going from Fairview Park Mall over to Conestoga Mall. And for our taxpayers to have to, our taxes will be increased, of course, and for our taxpayers to get involved and pay, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I would suggest, I mean, it's good to have vision. I just don't like what's on the table right now. I think they should take it back and have a look at it again and bring Cambridge into the picture. And I think it's something that we should look at. It's a good idea.
Thank you, candidate Mike Toffner. We'll now hear from candidate Bev McDowell.
I'm totally against light rail transit. The reason being, we cannot afford it. We do not have this money. We are already in debt with all of this stimulus money that all three levels of government have been spending. Our grandchildren are going to be billions of dollars into debt, and I, for one, am totally against all of this debt. We'll have to increase our buses. There's areas of our city that we don't have any buses at all running in. The industrial areas. People are going to work in factories in a lot of these industrial areas, and they have no way to get there. They have to hitchhike a ride or ride a bicycle. I think the whole light rail transit should be dropped.
Thank you, candidate Bev McDowell. We'll now hear from candidate Carl Kiefer.
Thank you for the question. The light rail system proposal that's on the table now, I'm definitely against it. I've said right from the beginning, and I'm on record as saying that we can't have the people of Cambridge, the taxpayers of Cambridge, paying for this particular light rail system, when in fact we're not going to see a train or a track probably for the next 20 years. It's great for the folks in KW, but our taxpayers, our people in Cambridge, won't be able to use it. So for now, the proposal that is on the table, I'm not in favor of. And perhaps down the road, when the timing is right, we should be looking at the light rail system. And you're right about the old Berlin Kitchener or Berlin Preston railway. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Carl Kiefer. We'll now hear from candidate Brian Santos.
I believe the LRT system should be put on the back burner for now. And if they want to continue with it, I think it should be something that Kitchener and Waterloo look at solely themselves. I don't think the citizens of Cambridge should be forced with a $5,000 debt put on each citizen. That's where I believe the numbers are coming up to for the region. Every citizen's going to be paying roughly about $5,000 to have this system brought in and created. That's not including the maintenance costs in it. As of right now, the system definitely should be put in the back burner. I think we should just basically focus on a bus route, work on that, and do it for now, and then go forward for in the future. And maybe when our economy recovers a little more, maybe we'll have a position to be able to look at an LRT system. But right now, it just is not economically sustainable.
Thank you, candidate Brian Santos. We'll now hear from our media panel, Glenn Pelche of 570 News. Glenn.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up the LRT subject, because really when it comes to Cambridge, light rail really isn't even in the debate. because of the proposal being buses only, at least in phase one. And Mayor Craig has suggested that what is fair for Kitchener and Waterloo should be fair for Cambridge as well, either light rail for everybody, or buses for everybody, or nothing. And he's not alone in suggesting that Cambridge often gets the short end of the stick in the region. LRT, one example, according to the mayor. The new courthouse going to Kitchener. This notion of Cambridge gets forgotten again, quote unquote. Is this perception, in your estimation, or is it reality? And if you believe it's reality, what would you do to change that perception?
We'll hear first from candidate Bev McDowell.
Within the region, Cambridge is forgotten far too many times. With the light rail transit, with the courthouse, with the infrastructure. We have been lucky in the last few years. We are getting our Franklin roundabout, and there is talk about a roundabout or another bypass at the end of Preston at the Crest Hotel that they're looking into, that we will be getting some money from the region for that. But as a whole, I think Cambridge does get the short end of the stick within the region.
Thank you, candidate Bev McDowell. We'll now hear from candidate Carl Kiefer.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. The situation has been for a number of years where Cambridge has been looked at as the ugly sister, or the ugly duckling, if you will. But I have to say this, that of course these are regional issues that you're bringing up here, and my opinion is that we need to work with the region. We've been in the region long enough, since '73. We of course went into the region through a forced amalgamation by the provincial government, and I think we've made things work, but there are things that flow to our KW neighbors that we don't get down here, and a lot of it happens on the provincial level. And so we still need to every day fight for the fact that we are the second largest city in the region, and we should have the same opportunities as our friends in Kitchener and Waterloo. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Carl Kiefer. We'll now hear from candidate Brian Santos.
You know, I've talked to many residents as I was going door to door, and that was probably one of the biggest concerns, is the fact that Cambridge is never really recognized from the region. I feel this is something that is very accurate. I believe that Cambridge needs to be looking at getting some equal return on its tax dollars that are going into the region. I would like to see a situation of maybe 60 or 70% of the tax dollars in which a city places into the region has to be mandatory put back into that city in some shape or form. And I think that's the best way to really get an even broad opportunity for all the cities and all the different municipalities part of our region. I think doing that, we would see a lot more infrastructure built, and we'd see a lot more progress among the region. And the leftover 30 or 40% that we use to benefit the entire region itself, whether it be for a light rail system or something else, but we put that aside to invest in our cities. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, candidate Brian Santos. We'll now hear from candidate Mike Toffner.
Yeah, it's a funny problem with the region. I can tell you that we only have 3 votes from our city. I've listened to the mayor's debate, and we have 3 votes. And Kitchener, Waterloo, of course, probably have about 18. So when voting starts, we're already behind. So, but I think this can be worked out. There's got to be, I don't know if the people are not getting along with one another, and maybe that's why we need a change. I mean, we've had this problem when I was with the KW Real Estate Board and the Cambridge Board. But you know what? We worked it out, and now I'm telling you, we're very, very close. And I think that there's some kind of stuff going on that probably should be looked at, and maybe try and get together and go that route there.
Thank you, candidate Mike Toffner. We have a caller on the line, Angela from Cambridge. I understand you have a question for the candidates. Go ahead, Angela. Good evening, Angela. Unfortunately, we lost Angela. Thank you for taking the time to call in, Angela. We'll hear now from our media panel, Lynn Osborne-Way of Rogers TV. Lynn?
Yes, core areas, downtown type areas are always a concern. You know, many people want them to be more beautified, safer, have more economic development. What would you recommend, or what would you push for in terms of the core areas within Cambridge, including Preston?
We'll hear first from candidate Carl Kiefer.
Thank you for the question. As the council liaison for the BIA in Preston, I have first-hand experience. My own business is right in the core area, and all three core areas of Cambridge are beautiful, and all three have BIAs, business improvement areas. One of the things that happens is that the Business Improvement Area Committee gets together in all three areas of the city and tries to present the best program and services for the core areas. We've got beautiful heritage areas, we've got beautiful stores, we've got people who look after their places and their businesses, and my proposal is to carry on with the BIAs. We've just had a BIA summit with all three BIAs involved, and there's going to be a further meeting with regards to to what's happening in the core areas, and like I said, our core areas are beautiful.
Thank you, candidate Carl Kiefer. We'll now hear from candidate Brian Santos.
Mr. Kiefer mentioned the fact that all three BIAs are now had a chance to have a little bit of a summit meeting. And coming from that, I've been talking to the Galt BIA, and that's where I've been doing a festival for the city of Cambridge, Rock the Mill, for the last 2 years, and I've been part of that. And I've been working with them, and the next step that we're looking at doing is creating a festival for the entire city, not just a single core area. We're hoping to involve all three cores in this. And we're hoping to do the first stepping stone next year with the first event to happen. And so hopefully that can bring some crowds in. But the other thing that we do need to do is we need to extend the business hours of our shops in our downtown cores. I find that they're closing too soon. The 9 to 5, most people are at work at that point. They're not able to get down there and shop, and I think that's going to be a key thing. And another thing is parking. Preston has a little bit of an issue regarding parking-wise, and we need to make it a little more accessible to compete with the shopping centers and malls.
Thank you, candidate Brian Santos. We'll now hear from candidate Mike Toffner.
Yes, I love downtown Preston. I've seen it change over the years, and I would like to see it revitalized. All the shopkeepers down there, they're so nice, and they're really nice to new customers, and I think revitalizing downtown Preston, it's a fabulous area for shopping. It's one of the nicest, and Riverside Park should be utilized more, and we should also schedule a lot more events in downtown Preston as well. This particular area is very high on my list of things to do because the shopkeepers, I want to keep them down there. And we have a lot of shopkeepers down there. All the doors are open, and we also would like to see if we could just extend the parking just a little bit longer instead of 2 hours, because it seems like the ladies, when they shop, need an extra hour, so they don't get a ticket. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Mike Toffner. We'll now hear from candidate Bev McDowell.
Yes, I think downtown Preston and downtown Hespeler are getting the short end of the stick here. Downtown Cambridge is getting another facelift, $400,000, which has just been done 3 years ago. The facelift was done in downtown Galt, and I really believe that more money needs to be transferred to Hespeler and Preston. They should have their fair share of the pie, just as downtown Galt is getting. And I'm totally against the second revitalization of downtown Galt, especially at this time when we do not have the financing for it.